Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to my respected lecturer, Sir Shamsul Anwar bin Kamaruddin, and my fellow classmates. So we are from Group 3, ENGL 1346, Session 3, Advanced Rhetoric. So we are going to be presenting on our topic. So our topic is called the relationship between the use of English language in learning and anxiety among non-English speaking undergraduate students on IIUM Gombak campus. Meet our group members. So we are from Group 3. Hello, my name is Mohammed Shiraz bin Jaffa. Nice to meet you. My matric number is 2111379, and my other group members consist of uh, two sisters and one brother. So the first one is Man Jinxian. Her matric number is 1817832, and sister Yang Yang. Her matric number is 1816812, and brother Abdullah Adham bin Muhammad Razi. His matric number is 2018497.
For the abstract, we realize that many students of IIUM do not have mastery of the English language. We try to find out if any of the students of IIUM among the undergraduates get language anxiety and how they cope with it. We spread a questionnaire to students to tell their opinion and what they are feeling regarding the English language usage on the IIUM campus. Many had a positive attitude to the barrier, but some were not positive. We hope for better treatment is given to students who are in need and incapable of speaking in English.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Shiraz bin Jaffa. My matric number is 2111379, and I will be talking about the introduction of this term paper. As for the introduction, to begin with, the English language was widely used by every institution across the globe, from kindergarten, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Students are encouraged to grasp the English language from an early age, so they will not get behind in terms of academia and co-curricular, as both are essential for the development of students. This can be a golden ticket for students to diverse in the English language, so when they step into a higher level of education, they will be able to understand much more, as universities right now are use English as their main language for teaching and learning. And most of the academic research is also written and published in English, and about 94% of research in international high-impact publications is in English. Much of the content and vocabulary in many technical subjects and student dissertations and research is in English, according to Galloway 2017. Given that the content is largely in English, it makes sense for students to learn English if they wish to keep current in their profession. On the other hand, the definition of anxiety. So what is anxiety? Anxiety disorders are marked by excessive fear as opposed to normal emotions of apprehension, and it is the most common mental illness, according to Muskin 2021. Anxiety is very common among non-speaking English undergraduates, especially when acquiring something unfamiliar like a foreign language. Foreign or second language anxiety concerns performance evaluation within an academic and social context. Thus, it is useful to draw parallels between it and three related performance anxieties. Undergraduates have the most anxiety to attend and get used to the language that is opposed to their mother tongue. They believe they will be unable to meet their objectives in academia and co-curricular and will lose motivation over time. Learning a second language is a complicated task and will contribute to anxiety, according to Brown 2007. If an undergraduate has a positive attitude in trying to learn the language through participation and active engagement during discussion in class, it is a good sign, as they will develop a successful language acquisition over time. Moving on to the next one, so here are the problem statement, objective, and significance of the study. So for the problem statement of this term paper, since IIUM is an international university, the English language was fully implied as a main language during teaching and learning. Many undergraduates come from various countries, and not all of them came from English-speaking countries. Thus, it is ideal to conduct research based on the level of understanding of the English language among undergraduates on the IIUM Gombak campus. And for the objective, one of the main objective of the study is to investigate whether the use of the English language creates anxiety among non-English speaking undergraduates on the International Islamic University in Malaysia, IIUM Gombak campus, specifically in Gombak campus. And for the significance of the study, this study is significant to determine whether the use of the English language during teaching and learning does actually create anxiety among non-English speaking undergraduates on the IIUM Gombak campus. Other than that, it is to determine what are the factors that contribute to language anxiety among undergraduates on IIUM Gombak campus.
My name is Ma Jinxiang and my network number is 1817832. I will talk about literature review. Then in this section, a literature review is conducted beside the research question of this study. Next, anxiety and languages. Anxiety has been identified as a distinct affect variable, and this view from Howry's articles. Anxiety is therefore considered to be one of the most common phenomena that hinders language learning outcomes, and anxiety may affect an individual's quality of communication or willingness to communicate. The next point from Papa here, he divided anxiety into types. State anxiety and trait anxiety. State anxiety is a type of anxiety that occurs as a result of a learner being exposed to a specific condition or situation. For example, speaking in a classroom, even if well spread, can still affect normal performance because the speaker's anxiety switch is triggered in such exposure scenarios and specific conditions. At the same time, trait anxiety can be understood as the tendency of an individual personality to feel anxious no matter what environment and state they are in. And he believes that this may be due to the character of the person. And there are several factors that lead to language anxiety. According to the research result of and others, they determined that 3 reasons for language anxiety, namely communication fear and text anxiety. Last one, fear of negative evaluation. How we define the first component of language anxiety, communication fear, as a shameless characterized by a fear anxiety to communicate with people. Communication fear is understandably the type with an introverted, shy personality. The second component, according to Howard, is student fear of negative evaluation. For example, in the process of communications, you are too afraid to worry about making a fool of yourself, which lead to tension and anxieties. For this reason, they are reluctant to participate in class discussion because they don't see language error is natural part of the learning process, but rather is trained their imagine. The third component of language anxiety is text anxiety. It is defined as a performance anxiety that arises from a fear of failures. The proposal of the exam is to gain better knowledge by consolidating and reviewing. But because students with text anxiety are not clear about the proposal of the text, they don't see the text as a way to improve their language skills, but as a text situation with increased anxiety level.
Into the findings and discussion of this term paper. So for the findings and discussion of this term paper, there were 3 ways of doing this. So the first one is through survey questions. The second one is we're going to analyze the survey question based on the demographic of the respondents, and the third one we will analyze the data that we collected as well as responses from the respondents as well. Okay, so this is the list of survey questions. There were 12 questions altogether. This survey was made using Google Form and was spread among IIUM undergraduates, specifically on Gombak campus. So the first question is, what is your mother tongue? The second question is, do you understand what the lecturers are saying if the class was taught in English? The third question is, do you feel restless when the lecturers ask you a question in English? Next is, do you think English proficiency is a measure of academic achievement? Next, do you lose motivation trying to learn the English language and find nothing is working? The sixth question, do you have low self-esteem or negative thoughts whenever you want to try to communicate with others in English because you're afraid that they will be unable to understand what you mean? The seventh question is, do you feel embarrassed every time you speak English in class? The eighth question is, does the English language becomes a great burden, especially when it comes in doing assignments and group projects? The ninth question is, do you still get nervous speaking English in class even though you are well prepared? Next is, do you lose concentration easily during teaching and learning if the class was taught in English? The 11th question, do you think your English ability is insufficient due to the limitations of vocabulary and grammar? The last question is, do you go out of your way to communicate with others who are good at English, just to improve your English skills? If not, please explain why. The last question asks the respondents to give their own opinions on whether they go out of their way to communicate with others to improve their English skills or not. So this is the demographic analysis. So we have collected 30 respondents, which 70%, while the number of male respondents only 9 respondents, which 30%. According to the second pie chart, which is the age of the respondents, the respondents that took part in this term paper are aged between 19 to 24 years old. So for the 19-year-old, they were only the highest respondents are taking place are those who age of 20 years old, which is 9 respondents at 30%. The second highest of respondent who took part in this term paper is those who aged of 21 years old, which 8 respondents, which 26.7%, and the least would be those who age of 19 years old and 24 years old, which only 1 respondent respectively at only 3.3%. Moving on to the next one, so here are the kuliah and the programs of the respondents. So according to technically the third pie chart, so we can see that most of the respondents who took part in this term paper are those who came from the human sciences, kuliah of human sciences, KRKHS, at 26 respondent, which 87%. And the second highest are those who came from kuliah of education, co-ed, at 2 respondents, which 7%. And the least are those who came from law, kuliah of law, ICOL, and kuliah of ICT at 1 respondent respectively, at only 3%. And for the program of respondents, according to the fourth pie chart, we can see, although there's a lot of programs listed, but I'm just going to talk about the highest number of respondents who took part in this term paper. So the highest amount of respondents who took part in this term paper are those who came from the English major, Benel, at 9 respondents, which 30%, and the second highest are those who came from Arabic major, Barb, at 5 respondents, 17%, and the third highest number of respondents are those who came from communication, Com, at 4 respondents, 14%, and the fourth highest are those who came from political science at 3 respondents, 10%. So this is the last demographic, which is the country of the respondents. So according to the fifth pie chart, the last pie chart for the demographic, we can see that there are 3 countries where the respondents came from, which is Malaysia, China, and Indonesia. So according to the pie chart, we can conclude that most of the respondents who took part in this term paper are those who came from Malaysia at 22 respondents, 73%. And the second highest are those who came from China at 7 respondents, 23%, and the least are those who came from Indonesia at 1 respondent, 4% only. So this is the data analysis. So the data analysis consists of 12 questions from the survey. So question 1 and question 2 are being presented using pie chart. So the first pie chart is for the first question. So what is your mother tongue? So according to this pie chart, as I've addressed before, which is the country where the respondents came from. So there are 3 main countries, which is Malaysia, Indonesia, and China. So according to that, we can already conclude that the respondents are only speaking 3 main languages, which is the Malay language, Mandarin, and Indonesia language. So according to this pie chart, we can see that the number of respondents who speak Malay language is greater compared to the number of respondents who speak Mandarin and Indonesia at 22 respondents, which 73%. The second highest are those who speak Mandarin at 7%, at 7 respondents, which 23%, and the least are those who speak Indonesia at only 1 respondent, which 4%. And the second pie chart is for the second question. Do you understand what the lecturers are saying if the class was taught in English? So according to this, we can see that most of the respondents agree that they understand what the lecturers are saying if the class was taught in English at 24 respondents, which 80%, and there are no respondents that do not agree with this, and there are only a certain number of respondents who can only understand a little bit what the lecturers are saying if the class was taught in English at 6 respondents, which 20%. So question 3 to question 11 are being presented using a bar graph. So question 3 to question 11 also uses a scale of 3, yes, no, and maybe. So I'm going to go question by question. For question 3, we can see that most of the respondents agree. Most of the respondents disagree with the question, which which do you feel restless when the lecturers ask you a question in English? So most of the students disagree at 17 respondents. And for question 4, most of the respondents agree with the question. Do you think English proficiency is a measure of academic achievement? So they do believe that English proficiency is a measure of academic achievement at 16 respondents. So for question 5, we can see that majority of the respondents disagree that they lose motivation trying to learn English, which means that they always seek for motivation at 17 respondents. For question 6, most of the majority of the respondents agree that they have low self-esteem and other negative thoughts whenever they want to communicate with others in English, because they might feel afraid and embarrassed that other people might not be understand what they mean at 17 respondents. For question 7, majority of the respondents are neutral about this. They maybe feel embarrassed every time they speak in English in class at 13 respondents. For question 8, the majority of respondents disagree with this, that does the English language suddenly become a great burden when it comes to completing assignments and group projects. So majority of respondents disagree with this at 20 respondents. For question 9, the majority of the respondents agree that they get nervous every time when they speak English in class, even though they are well prepared, at 14 respondents. For question 10, the majority of the respondents disagree that they will lose concentration easily during teaching and learning just because the lecturers are used English in learning. They disagree at 16 respondents. So for question 11, the majority of the respondents agree that the reason why their English is insufficient is due to the fact that they have limitations of vocabulary and grammar at 18 respondents. This is the last question number 12. So the question is, do you go out of your way to communicate with others? The others are not really trying to fix their English skills, at only 6 respondents, which is 20%. The reason why the respondents are not trying to fix their English are being their responses are being tabulated. So the first reason is, I do not feel like it. The second reason is more speaking. The third reason is not good to start socializing with others, meaning that they have that they quite introverted in terms of that. And the fourth reason is communicate only for academic matters, so they not really communicate daily using English language. And the last reason is lack of confidence and afraid to be judged when speaking in English. So we can conclude that most of the respondents are having social anxiety to communicate with others in English because they might encounter judgment from other people, as well as they might feel embarrassed if they try to communicate with others, the other will not be able to understand what they mean.
My name is Yang, and my next number is 1816812. So now let's move on to the methodology. To investigate the relationship between the use of English language in learning and anxiety among non-English speaking undergraduate students on the IUM Gombak campus, we use qualitative and quantitative method in this study. According to SOAP, qualitative research is the study of collecting and analyzing non-digital data such as sentences, text, articles, or videos, and other open methods. And he also described the quantitative research. Quantitative research is the process of objectively collecting and analyzing variables, examining causal relationship between variables such as score skill or closed questions, like questions that ask yes or no or right or wrong. And for data collection, we collected 3 weeks online questionnaire survey among IUM students. The researchers use a questionnaire to collect the data distributed through Google Forms among IUM students. And this survey includes students' perception of English language ability, their use of English in class or homework, and the difficulties brought to students by using English language. We shared our questionnaires through WhatsApp and WeChat, and this questionnaire is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the basic information of students, and the second and third parts are about closed and open questions about the relationship between use of English language in learning and anxiety among an IUM student. For limitations of this study, there are four reasons for limitations of this study, which are insufficient sample size, limited time, the proportion of respondents, and the network of international participants. First of all, our questionnaire is only for IUM undergraduate students who are not English majors, include not only local Malay students, but also but also from China, Indonesia, and other countries. In this way, we can obtain information about the views of students from different religions on this issue. But even if we expanded the survey, the sample size we got was still small, and more than half of the respondents were from Malaysia. And the second one is limited time. There is a deadline for this study. We must collect enough or more samples before the deadline, and we also need to set enough time to complete our study, so we can keep the questionnaire open all the time. In addition, when we sent questionnaires, we couldn't judge whether the interviewees had time to do the survey. Maybe they were studying or busy with other things. So it also brought some difficulties for us to collect the data. And the third is the proportion of interviewees. We sent our questionnaire to many new and female undergraduate students who are not English majors. But most of the respondents were female, and only 30% of males participated in our questionnaire. And last one is the network of international participants. As the university has not fully implemented physical class, therefore, local students or international students from other countries who have not yet returned to the university may experience unable network signals due to weather conditions and may not be able to connect to Wi-Fi and internet. But for Chinese students, the successful of their VPN connection and the smooth internet access to foreign software was one of the reasons restricting their participation in the survey.
Therefore, beside on the above four research limitations, suggestion will be given here to present ideal research results in the future research. First, insufficient sample size. It is well known that the insufficient sample size of the questionnaire will cause the reliability of the research result to be low. Therefore, it is necessary to improve the reliability and accuracy of the research result by increasing the sample size. Secondly, before start the research, try to make sure that the research topic can be completed by the deadline. Therefore, in order to solve this problem in the future, researchers should have a clean time allocation before the research project. Thirdly, the proportion of respondents and a good research report require a data report with a relatively balanced proportion of respondents. Therefore, researchers should pay attention to proportional balance to the accuracy and generality of the research result. You can preset how many questionnaire you need to advance and then distribute them evenly so as to achieve the balanced proportion of respondents. Last one, international network of participants. Due to the fact that many respondents were in their own countries due to the epidemic and did not turn to campus, respondents in many countries needed to go through a VPN to receive the questionnaire. Besides on this situation, many respondents refused the return registration because they had not received the question or couldn't open the questionnaire, the further increasing the difficulty for researcher to collect the question. Therefore, to avoid the prevent similar situation in future research, the questionnaire can be sent to students in Malaysia or local Malaysia that avoid the international network problems. Thank you. That's all from me.
Despite the limitation of the research, we know that students do get anxiety since IIUM requires its students to be fluent with the English language. Therefore, the sensation of anxiety may be brought on by a variety of factors, such as a person's inability to communicate effectively, their failure to comprehend the lecture, their feelings of shame, or the need to learn anything in a language other than their native tongue. Despite this, the statistics suggest that a good number of students are capable of rising to the occasion and thriving in the cutthroat environment of the academic world. We have high hopes that as a result of the discoveries that we have uncovered, people will become more conscious of the psychological health of students and will be able to provide therapy that is more effective and appropriate for students as well as anybody else who is in need of assistance. Thank you very much.